Welcome everyone to this segment of the tutorial, and in this tutorial I'm going to be teaching you guys how to move your character after removing the root motion from like we did in the previous tutorial. So I have two characters here I'm going to be using to illustrate. One I'm going to be using to illustrate how to manually keyframe the movement, while the second one, which is the second character over there, I'm going to be using the curve. I'm going to be using the follow path technique. So without further ado, we'll start with the first character, and what we have currently playing is the walking fast motion. You see it comes to an end and the character goes to T-pose. So what we want to do is increase the repeat value to 4 so that we have him walking for a longer period, and I feel that is okay. So what I'll do is I'll just reduce the end of my timeline to match the end of the frame. Okay, just adjust that. Beautiful. So now we have the action. How do we go about doing this? All we need to do is we want to select the control master in the Miximo rig, which is this guy over here. He's responsible for moving the character from point A to point B. So you can see that if I drag this forward, it just moves the whole character. Yes. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go to frame 1, and in our frame 1 you can turn on your auto keying. For this you can just press G and click to store the location at the origin point. You can turn on that, but for this video I didn't do that because like it's not a law that says you must do it. It depends on what you want to do. Yeah, so I'm just going to go to my viewport and press I to store the keyframe. And once you store a new keyframe, Blender automatically creates a new track and creates a new action for you in your action editor. So you can just rename your action. I'm going to change mine into CR, standing for control rig, then underscore move character. Okay, so next I'm going to move my playhead to the last frame, and all I want to do here is I'm going to drag my character along its forward axis and leave, and I'll press I to store. But if you have your auto keyframe, it's already stored that location for you. So with that, we've already created our movement. It's as easy as that. Okay, so now I'm going to play the animation. I'm going to bring back my playhead back to frame 1 and just play it so that you see that we've successfully created a new action to move our character from point A to point B. So let me adjust my screen so you guys can see this properly. Okay, so I'll hit my spacebar key and you see the character is moving. We have already created the action. But now the problem is that when you study his foot, you will notice that his foot is sliding when he makes his passing pose. So the whole body is resting on just one foot, but you can see that the leg is sliding, so it makes the animation look unrealistic. So what we want to do here is we're going to change the interpolation to linear. So select all keyframes and change the interpolation to linear. That should fix it a bit, and most times you will escape with this. But if you want to do a proper clean job where your character is not sliding this much and all, the way you can do that is to adjust these guys over here. So I'm just trying to show you how the foot is sliding. So if I move forward a bit, you can see that that leg is supposed to be in that spot, but it's moving backwards. Yeah, so that's the sliding we're talking about, which we don't want. So how are we going to fix that? We're going to fix that with the aid of our graph editor. So you just change one of these layers over here to graph editor, and you can see that this blue line shows that there is a change occurring between both frames. Right, for the purple one you see that there's no change, which means we are looking for this blue one, which is a location curve. So we'll go to the left and we can see that we have the Z location. That is what we're looking for. Look at the color code, is blue and our curve is blue, so we know that's what we're looking for. So all we're going to do here is that it's moving from 0 to 0 to, I can't see it exactly, but if you scrub you see he's sliding. So what we want to do is that he's sliding, he's moving forward too fast, so we want to bring him backwards a bit so that he matches the speed of the walk animation. So all we do is that this last one we'll just press G and bring it downwards, so it's like we're pushing him backwards so that the animation speed and the move character action match is. So you can just do all this adjusting yourself to refine it. So the way I'm moving it, I'm pressing G and I'm locking it on Y axis, because in your graph editor you only have two axes, the X and Y. Y is up and X is forward. Okay, so I'm just going to be pushing this guy and trying to ensure that the leg is no longer sliding. So sometimes it might be difficult to match exactly, but you want to remove as much error, you want to reduce the margin of error as much as you can. Okay, so yeah, you can take your time to do these adjustments, or feel free to go on without it, but I advise that you take your time to clean up your animation so it looks presentable to whoever you're going to be looking to deliver your projects to. So see, now it's working a lot better. It's not feeling, the foot is sliding less, or the slide is now less noticeable. Okay, so this is it for the first technique. Of course, you know that after this you're going to push down the action and store it as a new action that you're going to use in that track. Okay, so that's it for the first technique. Yeah, I'm just doing a little more adjustment because my eye keeps catching a little slide, so let me just adjust that a bit. Yeah, so yeah, I feel like the foot is more planted on the floor now. So nevertheless, we're done with that. We now have the movement for that character. Okay, now we're going to be switching to the next one. So if you're going to make a turn, that's how you have to create a new action for a turn. Do you understand? So but for this next one, I enjoy this technique more because all I have to do is just draw the curve along where I want my character to move, and we're done. So I'm going to be showing you the other technique for moving your character, and in this one we're going to be using a curve. Okay, so I'm going to select this character here and press Shift H to hide it, isolate it, sorry. So I'm going to press Shift S to move selection to cursor, so I want it to be at this origin point. So for this technique, what we'll be using the follow path constraint. Okay, so we're going to press Shift A to bring in a curve, then we're going to go to path. So you can see we have now added a path to the scene. So first thing I'm going to do is to rotate Z 90 degrees so that it's following the direction of our character. Then I'll press tab and just delete these two vertices at the back in edit mode for the curve, so we have our origin point for the curve. So at this point, what I'll just do is I'll press 7 and I'll just extrude this curve like so. you can see the way I'm just randomly extruding the curve along this part, because that's where I want the character to walk along. Yeah, now something to note: when you do this, you want to come over here and click on, you see this box over here, you see it on the side in edit mode for the curve. You want to turn this on. So what this does is that it shows you the direction of the curve. Can you see the direction? It's pointing backwards towards the character, but we want the arrows to be pointing in this direction. So we're going to press A to select everything. We're going to come here to segment. Can you see segment? And we're going to switch direction, which is going to move the direction of the character towards where we want it to point to. Okay, so once we have done that, we have successfully finished the first part of it. The second part is selecting our character, going into edit mode and selecting this bone right here, which is the control master. Remember, that's what we used to move the other character. After selecting him, what we want to do is to scroll down to bone constraints over here, this blue one, bone constraints. We're going to click on this and we're going to search for the follow path constraint. Look at it, follow path. So once you click on follow path, it's going to ask you what is the target, what are you saying I should follow. So you click on the eyedropper and locate the, or you can just type here path, nums path. So this option, it doesn't follow mesh or any other thing, it follows only curves. So you just click on this and say follow curve path. Now it's not following, but there is a problem, the direction is off. So it's asking what is the forward axis. It's using Y for some reason. Okay, so let me switch to global. Let me see if this is using the Y. What we want to do is we want to switch it until it's facing the right direction that we want it to. Yeah, like this. So after, now I press spacebar, I see that it's not following my curve. Why is it not following the curve? Because we need to enable this option here called follow curve. So once we click on this follow curve, then we can click on shift spacebar, we can now click on animate path. Yeah, so when we do that, you see it's not moving. All you have to do is just go through these options over here and you get one that you see moves the character. Now you see this one is moving the character along the curve, but the problem is it's not following, looking at the direction of the curve. So I want to go to -Y. So -Y in this case works for this character. You can see as I press play, the character is now moving and following the curve all the way, but you see that the speed of the character is too much. Yes, so when using the technique, the way we do this is we come back to object one and select the curve. Then you see down here it shows us this curve property. So you want to click on that and go to animate path option. Remember, come to curve data object properties, come here to path animate and scroll down. So what you want to do over here is simply you want to increase, let me hover over it. It says the number of frames that are needed to traverse the path, defining the maximum value for the time evaluation settings. So what you want to do here is increase the number of frames. Yes, now remember, when you are reducing the number of frames for an animation, it's like scaling it down, the animation becomes faster. But when you scale it up, the animation becomes slower. So you just scale it up and play. You can see that it's now doing the same thing where it's dragging his foot on one spot. Okay, so which means that I've over increased it. I'm going to take it down to something like 500 and see how that works. So you see that it's following the path. So if you notice that the feet is dragging means that the animation is faster than what you're doing. So I can click on this, click and hold shift down, and I can take it forward a bit. Okay, so I'll play the animation again. So this same technique is also available in Unreal Engine. Okay, I'm going to show you guys that when we get into Unreal Engine, but for now, let me just feed you what I have. So now you can see that our frame is not enough for it to go the complete circle. Yes, so I'm going to change this guy back to the timeline. Yeah, and I'll just increase the number of frames there is in this animation so that the character continues to walk. Can you see that? And all this is remember that we also, the length of our animation that we enabled is quite long, so which is why, so if your animation is short and it stops somewhere, you know you have to extend the animation. Okay, so now the question is, the character is now walking by a constraint, which means that this action, we have to convert this movement around this curve into an action strip for our NLA, because this is just a constraint. This only if you are recording in Blender, you are doing your final animation in Blender, then this works. But if you are not doing, if you are going to export it, you need to turn it into an action. So how do we do that? It's simple. All we need to do is evaluate the length of the animation. Yeah, so let's say we want this walk animation to be, let's say, 500 frames long. So let's see where 500 stops. So character is working, it's looking for something, and I hope, beautiful. So it gets to the end at 471. So I'm going to copy my current frame and I'll paste it using Ctrl V in the end frame. So I want the animation to end there. So how do we store this action? What we're going to do is we're going to bake the action to the control master, which is the bone we used for the bone we used for moving the character, which is responsible for moving the whole rig. Okay, which is this guy over here. So we'll select him first, then we're going to press F3. F3 will bring out this menu. Mine, because I use bake action a lot, is at the top, but if you can't see it, just type bake, you see bake action. Yeah, so you click on bake action, it will automatically detect the end of your frame, of your timeline. That's, it will automatically detect this one over here. So what we want to do is, when we want to bake action, we want to enable visual keying. This will allow us see the key frames that, like on our timeline. Okay, so once we have done that, we are going to enable clear constraint. We don't, after we have baked the action, if you still have this constraint here, it's going to mess up your workflow. It's going to mess up the calculation for the movement, so you are going to be seeing it moving anyhow. So which means that we have to remove this constraint in order for it to work properly. So I'm pressing F3 again, and I will turn on visual keying and clear constraint. Then you can also enable override current action. Yeah, so the first one says only selected bone, which means that we don't want to affect any animation that might be present in any part other bone. We just want this root one, because this particular control was made to be able to move your character from point A to point B. So with that said and done, I'll press OK, and immediately you see Blender will populate our timeline with keyframes. Can you see them? Now when you select this and you go over to your constraint, you see that the follow path constraint is no longer there. But now I will rename this action in my action editor to CR_, move along path. Yes, move along path, and I'll press enter. Okay, so obviously you know I'm going to play it before I push it down, but just to show you that the character is no longer using this curve, I'm going to delete the curve and just use my character. So now I press spacebar to play. You see our character is now following the path we just created for it, even though we don't longer have the constraint. So that's how you can use the curve to actually control your character movement. So with this set and done, obviously you know what next. We're going to push down the action. Okay, so pushing down the action, we now have this combined in our work cycle. Okay, so I'm going to press Alt H and bring out both so that you see what we've been able to accomplish. So we have this guy walking straight and going back into a T pose. Okay, for me I prefer the second option because it gives me more control over my character movements and enables me use it to explore the scene. While for this one, if I was to try and extend the action, it means that I will have to be adjusting that the move action, because you can only move straight like this. But with the curve, you can create multiple actions. One to move straight, another one to move around the curve, around the building, and stop. Okay, so you see now you cannot get your character to explore your scene. So with that, I've come to the end of this tutorial, and I'm looking forward to see what you guys use this for. Stay blessed and do your best, or better yet, do the most. See you.